What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I'm in here watching some Alone survival show, and I got a trip planned for tomorrow. And the last time I was out, I cast a pretty gnarly wind knot in my Stella, and this isn't too bad. But generally, when I'll respool, or the point at which I'll respool a reel, is when I can tell it's affecting my casting distance. So it's a chill Sunday here, and I thought I'd show you guys how I like to respool reels solo and without a spooling machine. So first thing we're gonna do, obviously, just open up that bail and start pulling it off here. I'll just start working it off about a yard at a time, and I'm not gonna bore you with this entire process, but first part here, get the old line off. Then we're going to throw on some Nomad Design 15-pound. You want to be careful right here not to nick your spool. Alright. As you can see, I've got electrical tape on there. That kind of rubbery type of feel electrical tape has, it's perfect for the line to kind of cinch down into the spool and keep it from spinning. So while I'm respooling this, I'll just give you a quick review on what my experience with the Stella's been like so far, how it's held up, what it's been like. Got it cleaned up as well here. So first things first, the finish. As you can see here, looks like day one. I take really good care of my stuff. Every day when I'm done fishing, I'll spray it down with fresh water. Dry it off with a microfiber. I don't use paper towels or anything like that. If you care about keeping your finishes nice, keeping your chromey chrome, use that microfiber. As far as smoothness on the reel, I feel like it's only gotten smoother. It actually free spins a little bit better now. It's probably broken in. So there's no funny sounds, still smooth, buttery smooth actually. Yeah, feels like day one. Nothing but good things to report on this reel so far. Caught some nice bull redfish on it, a bunch of trout. It's doing what it was meant to do and performing like you would hope that a reel that costs this much does. The rod it's on, the Terramar XX, can't say enough good things about that rod. A lot of backbone, real lightweight, tons of sensitivity. I've got a St. Croix Legend Extreme, and it's a little stiffer than this. It's a little more tip sensitive. It's got a few more guides, but this Terramar XX has been a phenomenal rod. If you guys are looking for a solid inshore rod, you will not be upset about that. I've put a few buddies on those, and their reports are similar to mine. They just love this rod. But yeah, the reel's doing great. I've got all the line off of it now, so I'm gonna show you how I go about spooling it up. And this may save you some money going to the tackle shop and having to use a spool machine. You don't really have to go use one of those. But to get this done, I really like these. It's probably like 15 bucks on Amazon. It's been a while since I bought it. But this thing right here is a godsend as far as respooling a reel. It's a suction cup that mounts to, you know, any flat surface. Glass is best. And then you throw the spool on there. It gives you the appropriate amount of tension. What I will say is this is not ideal for an offshore setup. Offshore setup, bigger fish, pulling harder, more drag. I really tend to want something that is gonna let me pack the spool a little bit better. For an inshore setup though, you can put enough tension. Also, the diameter of the line is small enough to really pack in there with minimal pressure. For like a 1000, 2500, up to like a 4000 series reel, you can really get away with doing one of these. The spool is packed as tight as can be, and I'm really happy about how that's worked out so far with my inshore stuff. The line hasn't cut in at all. Like I said, I always give my spool a little pinch test afterwards, and they've been packed in there tight. So I'm gonna get this stuff out, throw it on there, and get reeling. So for you guys that have spooled your own reels a lot, I guarantee you've made this mistake, and I'm gonna speak to the beginners in this video too. So if you're a novice or a pro, somebody who's done this a lot, I'm not trying to to condescend or talk down to anybody. I'm just showing you how I go about it, and speaking to that beginner that would like to stop going to a tackle shop to pay to have their spool filled. It's just not really necessary. And I kind of enjoyed it. It's kind of therapeutic. I enjoy, you know, it's a lazy Sunday today. I'm just spooling up a reel, getting ready for tomorrow. Gonna go do some fishing in the morning. Going to a new spot that I haven't fished in a while. Well, I won't say a new spot, but it's been a minute since I've been there. So we'll go see if we can make it happen in the morning. Make sure to subscribe, catch that video. Get myself a little slack here. So what I was saying is, if you've spooled your reel at home, you've undoubtedly done this before, where you forget to come down through the eyelets. And then you have to, you know, cut the line off the spool and do that whole thing. Also, critical step here, open your bail. Again, a lot of times you'll tie your line onto your spool with it shut, and then you got to cut it off and do it again. Open the bail, and then we're going to tie it on. Okay, so the industry standard on what knot to tie your line to the spool with is called the Arbor Knot. I'm not going to try and show you with the camera, especially a GoPro with no help. It's going to be hard to see what I did there. But look up Arbor Knot on YouTube. There's going to be a ton of videos on it. It's relatively simple, pretty clever little knot, perfect for tying to a spool. And it's not a knot you'll see used a lot to do anything else in fishing, but it's really great for this purpose. So look up the Arbor Knot, and that's what I like to use. And like I said, critical thing here is to have that electrical tape. You want to have that electrical tape around the majority of the spool, and that'll keep the line from slipping. All right, so I've come down through the top of my eyelets. I've tied up to my spool with the Arbor Knot, made sure to open my bail, then tied the Arbor Knot. So how this thing works right here is you take off this spring-loaded mechanism, slide your line or your spool over this, put your stopper back in there, get your spring, and then you want to do it as tight as possible. So I'll squeeze mine as far as it'll go, so I have the most pressure when spooling, and we are ready to roll. And you want your line to come off the top of the spool, so we want it to come off the top side going to me, not underneath. Next thing you're going to do, press it down and hit this little lever. Now your suction cup is good to go. Next is the mildly satisfying part of just spooling it up. Nothing fancy here. Set your drag. You do want to set your drag tight. As you get more line on there, it'll start to try and get your drag to click. And you do want your line as tight as you can get it on the spool. So these first few turns are critical. I like to really get the line pressing into that electrical tape. Once I get the slack up. And like I said, this thing really is perfect for inshore stuff. I've got a good load on the rod. Not worried about going as fast as I can. Don't have to go excessively slow. Every once in a while, just give your spool a pinch, make sure it's tight. I haven't ever had 10 or 15 pound braid not feel tight enough using this little spooler. Works perfectly. It's actually the perfect tension for an inshore setup. This little spooler is awesome. Like I said, probably 15 bucks on Amazon. It's a good buy. I'll get back with you guys once I get this thing topped off and show you where I stop at on a spool. So the other benefit to doing it this way is it's never going to be as balanced by hand as it will by letting the reel do its thing. Like the natural oscillation of the reel and how it's going to lay the line down is always going to be better than, you know, what somebody is doing with their hand. So when the line comes off the spool, when you inevitably hook that monster, it's going to come off nice and even and go back on nice and even. There's going to be no guesswork on, you know, is it going to be top heavy? Is it going to be bottom heavy? Is it going to be is it gonna be laid at the right rate? All right, so as you can see right here, this is what I'm looking at when I'm thinking about stopping. And I like to overfill a reel just a little bit because you're inevitably gonna cut some line to retie leader. When your spool gets wet, it's gonna compact just a little bit. Not much at all if you spooled it correctly. Again, that pinch test, I mean, it has no give, feels really tight, which is just what you want. I'm gonna go just over the bottom of that lip. If you build it up higher than that, as the line comes off when you cast, it'll grab other loops and you'll end up with a gnarly wind knot right out of the gate. But obviously you want max capacity. You want to get the most out of your spool, because I might not use all 300, but now, you know, what's remaining on that spool is not really going to be used because there's probably like 100 yards on it, and I can't put 100 yards on this after this line's shot. And I'm not a fan of tying into like a halfway down spool with like a line to line knot. I'm just not like a uni to uni or something like that, like midway in the spool. That's just, I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to that. And that's just a weak point in the line in my mind. And I would never want to be casting a knot repeatedly, so I just tend to re-spool completely whenever it's that time. But just right over that back lip is a sweet spot, and that's perfect right there. Nice and full. You can also look at the base, but really where you want to look is up here. I love the colors on this line. You got white, pink, blue, purple. Super sick having that pink on the spool. Big fan. And as you can see right here, changes to blue. Little white section about 1 inch and then changes to blue. Dope. Very dope line. And everybody has their favorite line. I like Nomad. Nomad's been great so far. I used to throw Power Pro a lot. I got on Nomad, haven't changed it up much since, but that's one of those things, tomato, tomato. Everybody kind of has their thing that they like there. And I like Nomad. All right, so moving right along. Again, I want to waste as little as possible of the remainder of the spool. I'm gonna go ahead and clip it here, feel good about that. Like I said, I've probably still got like 100 yards on here. I'll hang on to that, just, I don't know, it just feels wrong to throw a brand new line away, but it is what it is. You're not always gonna use every inch of a new spool of line. All right, next step, tying on the leader. All right, so before I took that old line off the spool, I already had a lot of leader on here, way more than I wanted to throw away. Generally, inshore, a lot of like minimum 18 inches. I like to throw long leaders. I'll start out, and especially because, you know, you're tying on new lures all day, so you're taking like 3 inches, 3 inches, you know, 2 inches every time you tie a knot. So I like to have a little bit extra. And then where I fish is generally really clear water. So those redfish especially will see that line. So I like to have my main line as far away from the fish as possible. So generally I'll start out with like a 5-foot leader, 4 or 5-foot leader. Leader's fairly cheap, it's not too pricey, so I like to tie longer leaders. That's just me. Yeah, 4 or 5 feet a leader. Got that spicy Rapala skitter walk right there. It'll walk the dog action tomorrow morning. Hopefully get blown up by a big dog. So the line to line knot that I like to tie is the modified Albright. I used to tie the uni to uni. Coming through the guides, it's a little more troublesome. You know, it's a bulkier knot, the uni to uni. And once you get good at the modified Albright, it's really not too difficult. But look up the modified Albright. Again, I'm on a GoPro here. I'm not gonna try and get you guys to see what I'm gonna do. I'll give you a close-up after I'm done. But the modified Albright is also a stronger knot. So if you look up like a knot test video, you'll see that modified Albrights hold more of the line's poundage, hold more of the line's strength, I should say, than the uni to uni. Anytime you tie a knot in line, you're taking away some of its strength, just a little bit. So that's where different knots come into play. And the uni to uni keeps more of the line's strength. So it's 5 around, and then 5 back. And that's what makes it a modified Albright and not just an Albright. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the key on this knot is to come back. Are you gonna finish going in the same way it came in? If that makes sense. It should be in the modified Albright video you watch. But that's it right there. I made it look easy. You'll get better and better at it as you do them more. But that's what they look like right there. They're sick knots. Like I said, they go through the guides better. Helps if you get them a little wet. Again, it'll get that line to compact. And then just, you know, pull your tags, make sure everything's tight. I can't tell you enough, and this is part of why I love fishing, is the preparation. The preparation is a lot of fun, so I really focus on tying clean, perfect knots, nice small tags. You don't want to leave a bunch of line hanging off. Like I said, those redfish, they've got great vision, and where I'm at, the water's really clear, so they can see your knot, see your line. So if you're fishing clear water inshore, I'm using 15 on this. On my ultralight setup, I'll use 12-pound leader. I think the difference between 12 and 15 is negligible in strength and visibility. I don't think I've like thrown my 15-pound setup and had way more fish see the line, but I do like to throw as light of leader as possible for visibility reasons and strength. That balance of strength and visibility is what you're going for. I did scale it all the way down to 10-pound, and the first nice red I had on, it snapped it, and that was enough to put a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, all right, I'm not going that light. And like I said, 12-pound, it's not getting seen. But on this setup, I'm gonna have 15-pound main line, 15-pound leader. Beautiful knot there. That's what the finished product's gonna look like right there. So I'll leave about 3 millimeters of tag right there. Again, if you did that knot correctly, it's not gonna slip. And I like to give it a good like pop test, you know, just get kind of reckless with it. And if it can hold that, no fish is gonna mess with your knot. So then you know you're good to go. On the fluoro side, maybe 2 millimeters coming out of there. If you leave that too long, it can snag your braid coming up through the eyelets, and that's never fun. Again, if you've done any fishing, I'm sure you've had your knot snag your main line before. So have your tags nice and clean. Again, fish will see that, so you want that to be as discreet as possible. All right, and just like that, we are spooled up, ready to go. Angle hard tomorrow. Puts a smile on my face. Yes. Nice and full. Got about 4 or 5 foot leader. We golden. Wanted to come out here and give you guys a little bit better look here. I'm not sure what the lighting is going to be like in my office. So as you can see, nice and full up to the lip of that spool. And then we've got the modified Albright up here. Where you at? Where you at? Right there. So that is how it's done. Gonna throw some top water to start, and this is gonna be the unit tomorrow. If you guys haven't seen it, I do a little overview of the 2022 Hobie Mirage Outback. This thing has been sick so far. I'm gonna do a video on it. It's actually gonna be one of the next videos I do. I'm just gonna do an update on it. I've had it about a year now, so I'll do an update on you know, what I've enjoyed, what I haven't, how's it holding up, as far as like, you know, is it rusting anywhere, stuff like that. I'll just kind of give you my take on it after owning it for a little over a year, fishing it a lot, pulled a lot of fish up to it. Hopefully that helps you get spooled up for your next trip out. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. We keep it steezy over here, and as usual, stay steezy. Go get on a big today.